Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome this evening to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your truth warrior, Kathleen Wells. Thank you, truth warriors and mythbusters, for listening to the show. You know, I was driving into the station this evening, and I was listening to Phil Girardi's show, Champions of Justice, and he had on, Gavin Newsom. I mean, that interview is like, let's keep it real, as they say. Let's see. Homelessness has increased. So Gavin Newsom is what? The lieutenant governor. And homelessness has increased, 75% in the last 6 years? Gavin Newsom was the mayor of San Francisco. We've been talking about liberal ideology and how it's been a destructive force. Liberal ideology equals black misery. That's something a truth warrior sent me, Chuck. Hi, remember? Thanks, Chuck, for sending that in. Liberal ideology equals black misery. Example, Chicago. So what did the police officers, after the Freddie Gray thing in Chicago, or is that Baltimore? After the Freddie Gray incident, police officers in Baltimore, Baltimore, decided to hold back, to pull back. Because, we're saying that the police officers are so racist and they're so horrible. So the police officers pull back. And what happens? Crime goes up in Baltimore. Right? That's liberal ideology. Because we discussed last week that only 16 unarmed black men were killed by cops in 2016. But liberals made police brutality a national crisis for black America. But yet only 16 unarmed black men. If a man is armed, he may get shot. But an unarmed man, maybe that's a problem, yeah. But it was only 16 in 2016. But liberals made that into, it was all on every news channel, constantly 24/7, correct? So anyway, Gavin Newsom was on with Phil Girardi on Champions of Justice, which comes on, 2 hours, at I think 5 o'clock, 2 hours before this show. And Gavin Newsom was talking about the fact that, they mentioned that the school district in La Cañada is, it's in the top level, 80 percentile or something like that. And that, but the other schools in the all Los Angeles school district and other districts, they said, I think they were being generous, but they said that something like a little more than half is at grade level. A little more than half. I'm thinking they're being generous because, I substitute taught for a year and a half, and I checked out the school district, and I think that's generous. It's a little more than half is at grade level, as at functioning or I forgot the term, not functioning literate or something like that. But the issue is that when I was going to school, I don't want to mention the date, but you guys know I'm old and it was a long time ago, right? When I was going to school, the schools were great. I'm a byproduct of the Los Angeles public school system, right? I remember my school teacher contacted me when I was at my fifth grade school teacher, Sandy Cohen, in fifth grade. If you're listening, Sandy, please contact me again because I lost your information. When I was doing the show, the Kathleen Wells show, she contacted me. She remembered me. I was at Dublin Avenue. It was called Dublin Avenue. It was 39th Street School. I think it was changed later to Tom Bradley, and then it was something else. I actually substitute taught there once or twice. But, when I was in elementary school, our schools were like the best. I'm a byproduct of the Los Angeles public schools, right? You talk to kids today, it's sort of embarrassing I mean, it's embarrassing. And they don't mention, and this is something Izola Foster mentioned, that, let's see, starting in the 80s, the schools were chock full of students who didn't have English as their first language. This is a problem. So, and in fact, Terry Anderson mentioned something to the effect that, let's see, they had to build 166 new public schools just for the kids of illegal immigrants. This is and Gavin Newsom never talks about the fact that, well, maybe our schools are faring poorly because they're filled with so many kids of illegal immigrants who don't have English as a first language. And our resources and our priorities are focused on teaching these kids to speak English. So much energy and so much resources, so many resources are put into that. I was looking, here's a data point. I was looking at the data, and let's see, we had 9.1 Hispanics in the 1970s. Not 9.1. That's not, 9.1 million Hispanics, Latinos in the 1970s. Today, we have 54 million. 54 million. That's your data point. That's not counting the 12 million at least illegal immigrants. They're not immigrants, they're aliens. Yeah, you guys always check me on that. That's not counting the 12 million at least illegal aliens. So in 1970, we had 9.1 million Latinos, Hispanics. Today, 54 million. That's a six-fold increase. Why so fast? Why so many? I talk about organic change and inorganic change. Organic change, people are adjusted to it. You know what I mean? Inorganic change, forced change, builds resentment and animosity. Yet Gavin Newsom, he was on for the full hour on Philip Girardi's show, Champions of Justice. He never talked about illegal immigration or illegal aliens. He never talked about this six-fold increase in our population. Numbers matter. Numbers matter. He was just talking about, I have these ideas for the betterment. Anybody who is still voting Democrat is not observant. They're not observing what is taking place. They're oblivious. They're sleepwalking through life. That's the way I see it. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. There's a lot of things to talk about today. A lot has been going on. I mean, our political news will always be chock full as long as Trump is president, because he keeps it moving, he keeps it going. And as long as Democrats are the resistance. With Democrats, you go from one hysterical moment, high emotion, anxiety-filled a moment, like the Democrats are like on menopause. They go from one high anxiety, anxiety-filled hysterical moment, like the kids in quotes, air quotes, cages, to then what? Kavanaugh being on the Supreme Court justice. Now, what are we talking about? The 15 Russians being indicted. That's a big deal. And like Democrats are even suggesting that Trump should not even sit down with Putin. I heard one guy, I can't remember his name, I forgot it that fast, but he was a Democrat naturally. He said, a Democrat congressman. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he said, Trump shouldn't meet with Putin without an American being in the room with him. These folks are hysterical. They're not sincere. I want to talk about the Peter Strzok congressional hearing. So, there's so much to talk about. I wish I had longer than an hour, but I don't. And then I also want to talk about the Congolese woman from the Congo, the Congolese woman scaling the Statue of Liberty. And I also want to talk about Hillary Clinton talking about, if Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court justice, we're going to go back to the 1850s. there's a lot to talk about. You need 2 hours to discuss it all because I can like sort of what is the word I'm looking for? Refute all of these points that have been made. For one, regarding the Russian interference in the U.S. elections, Dick Morris has a piece on Spectre.org where Bill Clinton meddled in Russians' elections on behalf of Yeltsin. It's on Spectator.org. So, and the United States has been meddling in many countries' election. I think the number I saw was something like 83 for decades. So if Russia is meddling in our elections, hey, maybe it's some payback, right? I don't know. But the issue is also this. Rosenstein said that Russians meddling in our elections didn't have any American involvement and didn't impact the outcome of the election in any way. So it's all, but yet the Democrats are hysterical about this. They're so hysterical to the extent that they say that Trump cannot meet with Putin without an American sitting. I mean, these people they're hysterical. They're illogical. Oh, that was like the meme that I wanted. Too many people are illogical. Too many people are illogical. They can't put 2 and 2 together. They don't dig deeper for enough research. But the main thing that's got me sort of, I guess 2 things I want to talk about, and then at the half hour I'll go to open phones, because I don't have a guest. So the 2 things I want to talk about is the thing that Hillary said about if Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court, we're going back to the 1850s. That is like, and then the other thing is the pre-destruct testimony. So Hillary Clinton said if Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court, will be placed on the Supreme Court, we'll go back to the 1850s. The 1850s means slavery because, let's see, the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery was in 1864, ratified on 1864. So she says we'll go back to the 1850s, right before the 13th Amendment was ratified, which abolished slavery. This is the thing about Democrats, and this is something Gavin Newsom did. They mention MLK, they mention slavery, and black folks' brain cuts off. They immediately think that the person who is talking is accurate. Gavin Newsom mentioned MLK. But the thing of it is, we're not living in the 60s anymore. This is 2018. And I've always said, and I've said it before, Martin Luther King, the man was only 39 years old when he died. He wasn't right about everything. Basically, he was just a good preacher, a good talker. But he put black folks on the Democratic plantation, the Democratic Party, and that was a mistake. That was a mistake. So he wasn't right about everything. You assess the success of something by looking at the fruit that has been born from that thing, right? And look at Black America today. So, MLK was not right. And we need to, I know we celebrate MLK, but I'm thinking maybe we should celebrate Malcolm X. Because Malcolm X said that the Democrats are losers. He said white liberals are the devil. Maybe not the devil, but I'll say they're the devil. They're diabolical, right? So, that's what Gavin Newsom, he brought up MLK, and then he also brought up Cesar Chavez. So they bring up these civil rights folks, right? The Democrats, and that, black people's brains shut off. They can't think beyond that. Because Cesar Chavez was against illegal aliens, but Gavin Newsom didn't say that. And I'm sure MLK did not anticipate that right after the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1965, the Immigration Act would have been passed in 1965. And we would go from 9.1 million Latinos to 54 million. And black folks would make up 40% of the homeless in Los Angeles. I'm sure Martin Luther King didn't think about it. I'm sure Martin Luther King didn't think that was kosher, right? And we know Barbara Jordan, who was in that era, coming, in the era of the civil rights movement, coming into the 70s and going into the 80s. We know Barbara Jordan is not for illegal immigration, and neither was Coretta Scott King. So see, these Democrats, they're superficial. They have no depth of knowledge, or at least they don't express depth of knowledge, depth of understanding to their listeners, to Democrats. They're superficial. They're shallow. They don't go deep with it. They just say, oh, and Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez, and then people click over, oh, yeah, the civil rights guy. Oh, and Gavin Newsom even mentioned Bobby. That's another one. They mentioned the Kennedys. They don't give you any analysis. They just mention these guys, and it's supposed to be, oh, yeah, we'll be for Gavin. Just mention Martin Luther King. Oh, we're for Gavin Newsom. Just mention Cesar Chavez. Oh, we're for Gavin Newsom. Just mention the Kennedy brothers. Oh, yeah, we're for Gavin Newsom. That's how superficial these people are. That's not analysis. That's like name dropping, okay? Right? Like how people drop names of celebrities and you're supposed to be impressed. That's like a con artist. I'm going to drop the name of a celebrity and you're going to be impressed. Oh, I had lunch with so-and-so, this celebrity yesterday. Oh, really? So this is what the politicians do. Oh, Martin Luther King. Oh, I'm voting for that politician because he mentioned Martin Luther King, right? This is what I'm saying. Anyway, Jeff, my engineer, are you listening, Jeff? Jeff is being trained today. Can you talk, Jeff? Can I hear you? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Jeff. But anyway, I saw a smile on your face. I don't know if you're laughing at me or if thumbs up, you're laughing at me. Anyway, so let's get back to what Hillary Clinton said. Hillary Clinton said that if Kavanaugh is placed on the Supreme Court, that we're going to go back to the 1850s. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to before the 13th Amendment and the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment was enacted. See, she doesn't mention that. Those three amendments, the 14th Amendment is Black Americans' birthright. That's our birthright. And what have Democrats done? Democrats have given away that birthright to Eskimos and midgets and lesbians and transgenders and white folks and Latinos and Indians and Arab. Oh, Obama made Arab a new race. So our birthright is the 14th Amendment, right? See, Hillary goes before the 13th and 14th Amendment were ratified and the 15th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868. That's the birthright of Black Americans. We are specifically mentioned in the U.S. Constitution, the direct descendants of slaves. They mention us as Negroes and as Blacks. That's why they don't mention us as Africans. They mention us as Blacks in the U.S. Constitution, in these three amendments, and as Negroes. The direct descendants of slaves. This is why, when Jesse Jackson said, oh, we're African Americans. No, we're not. We were born in America. We're Americans who happen to be Black, and we are mentioned in the U.S. Constitution. Let me tell you something. If Black Americans have a responsibility to know their history. And since the school systems are failing us, obviously, what I said on my Facebook page, these folks that are talking about Africa nonstop, obviously their ancestors were bums. They didn't have decent ancestors. Because Black Americans who had decent ancestors, they're not going to erase their ancestors' history. They're not going to say, oh, no, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go back to Africa and think about Africa. So anyway, Hillary Clinton is doing one of those, it's a con game. Mention slavery and Black folks' brains shut off. Right? Well, I'm not buying it. Are you buying it? Because I know that the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment were enacted after 1850, right? Also, one of the things that, and this is another thing that they say, the liberals say this, or the academicians. They say, well, Abraham Lincoln, the Civil War wasn't fought to end slavery. That's not true. It was fought to end slavery. In fact, on Tom Girardi's show, they played his 7-word speech. I mean, it wasn't Lincoln speaking. They read it. They read it. They had someone read Lincoln's 7-word speech. And he specifically says in that speech that the Civil War was fought to end slavery. So where do these academicians come up with the fact that the Civil War was not fought to end slavery? They talk about other stuff like states' rights and some economic rights and stuff like that. That's not true. Also, are you familiar with the Dred Scott decision? That Dred Scott decision, I think that was, Dred Scott decision was in 1857. Abraham Lincoln did a speech against the Dred Scott decision, supporting the dissent in the Dred Scott decision. The dissent, that decision was 7-2, and the judge's name was Taney, Taney, and that judge was a Democrat who decided that Dred Scott had no rights to be free. And Abraham Lincoln, there was a dissent, 2 judges dissented against that, and Abraham Lincoln gave a speech on that dissent. He agreed with that dissent. So, Black Americans have a responsibility to learn this history. They didn't learn it in school. And they need to ask themselves the question, why? Why didn't you learn this history in school? Why don't you know this stuff? So that you have armor, so you have a shield against BS from people like Hillary Clinton. You have a sword or a shield to safeguard you from BS from people like Hillary Clinton. So you know that what she's saying, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, BS, Hillary, come on. That's crap that you're selling there. First of all, Kavanaugh is not even like this. Oh, this is a term that they use. I heard Elizabeth Warren saying it. These right-wing extremists. They call them right-wing extremists. How are they right-wing extreme? Who is extreme are the liberals. Because what? They've destroyed Black America. They've done nothing but Black misery. And, the California Democratic Party just endorsed Kevin DeLeon. In the primary, Kevin DeLeon got 12 or 14% of the vote. The California Democratic Party endorsed Kevin DeLeon. So I think that the Democrats are the far left extremists. They're the ones that are extreme because the American people do not go for illegal aliens sitting on commissions. The American people, I'm going to deal with people on a commission that barely speak English. How is that kosher? Does that seem kosher? That's what you're going to get with a Kevin DeLeon. You're going to get socialism. Like, the woman in, the Bronx or Brooklyn? Cortez is her last name. She won, and her district is majority, like 80 or 90% immigrants. This is like, come on. America is not, this is the issue. Uneducated folks and newly arrived immigrants go for socialism. Because intelligent people, educated people don't go for socialism. They've dug deep and they studied socialism and communism and they know what it's about. Right? Anyway, I hear my music. I can't believe that 30 minutes went by so fast, Jeff, right? I can't believe I can talk for like 30 minutes, right? Anyway, and I haven't even gotten to all of the things that I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to what? Let's see. I wanted to get to, I did mention the Congolese woman climbing the Statue of Liberty. Oh, I wanted to talk about Peter Strzok's testimony. Maybe I'll talk about that when I come back from the break, and I'll open the phone lines. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. This is a Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and we'll be right back. Open phones, and we'll talk about Peter Strzok's testimony. We'll be right back.
Kathleen Wells, the host of the Naked Truth Report, wants to hear from you. Just like our borders, the phone lines, well, they're wide open. Call in at 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. 866-870-KRLA.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to be taken higher. Yeah, we want to be taken higher, right, Jeff? I want Americans to take back their country from liberal ideology, and I want us Americans to go higher. We want it better. We want it better, right? Right, Jeff? We want to go higher and higher, right? But anyway, I wanted to talk about the Peter Strzok testimony. I watched that. Did you guys watch that? I mean, this guy, first of all, so the issue is surrounding bias, right? Democrats are always telling us that the criminal justice system is biased. That's why you have so many, they call it implicit racial bias. This is why you have so many black men in prison. I think that it's true. I think human nature is biased, yes, okay? And, and we act upon that bias unconsciously and consciously, right? So Peter Strzok actually exhibited his bias in his text to Lisa Page, right? He said, F Trump, impeach Trump, Trump supporters I can smell them coming out of Walmart. We've got to stop Trump. But anyway, I was listening to it, and this guy, Peter Strzok, actually said, well, that's not bias. He actually said he was not biased. So, he has no credibility because, we all have bias. And the issue is, have you acted upon your bias? And I would think that he would act upon that bias because he explicitly had such disdain, such animus towards Trump supporters and for Trump. He would want to manipulate the outcome, yes. And I think, and this is why you have, even when you go into a court system, people say they put aside, a jury says they put aside their bias and, they act fairly. They act fairly. This is not true. People have bias, and they act upon their bias even unconsciously and consciously. So this is not true. This is not true. We know that Peter Strzok was definitely biased. He denies that he was even biased. If you say, I want to stop Trump, don't you think somebody might do something? He might act upon that desire to stop Trump. He was the lead investigator on the Hillary Clinton matter and on the Russian investigation at the beginning. And this is why they could not indict Hillary. Because if they indicted Hillary, Hillary could not be president of the United States. These folks, this is, and it's not Democrat and Republican anymore. It's the establishment versus non-establishment, right? It's the deep state. And then, I suggest my Truth Warriors listen to Dick Morris. Dick Morris, he had in fact, he knew the Clintons in law school back at Yale. And he was their political consultant for at least 20 years. He knows them inside and out. And, in fact, Dick Morris is the one that has a report on how, Bill Clinton interfered in Russian elections on behalf of Yeltsin. So, Dick Morris is a credible source, someone I think is worth listening to. So, I listen to Dick Morris. But of Peter Strzok, Peter Strzok was so smug and arrogant. But the main thing I want to talk about is the fact that Democrats were defending this guy. I mean, black Democrats, I was watching that testimony. Black Democrats, they're a joke. They're like clowns. They grandstand. They're not believable. First of all, black folks should feel like, well, fishy about the FBI when they're talking about, when you think about Malcolm X and the Black Panthers and MLK, all the FBI spied on and infiltrated and so on and so forth. So, you don't necessarily, most black folks are going to say like, yeah, the FBI is cool. Black folks are just not going to automatically say that. They're going to lean towards, yeah, I know they're kind of, I'm sure they're sneaky. I'm sure they're snaky. But these black Democrats, now that lets you know how fake they are. That one guy was like, I think his name is Hank Johnson from, I think he represents Georgia. I can't remember the other, there's another guy, black guy from Louisiana. These folks are crazy. They're unbelievable. Oh, time is going and I see a lot of calls. Anyway, let me start taking some of the calls. We only have 15 more minutes, so let me take some of these calls. But I was just going to say they're like the emperor has no clothes, the black Democrats in the Peter Strzok, the black politicians in the black Congress members in the Peter Strzok testimony. They're like the emperor has no clothes. Anyway, let me take a call now from Ryan. Hi, Ryan. You're calling from... Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I was listening to a little bit about what you were saying about Peter's testimony, and the main issue at hand is how liberals think that federal law and code of conduct and just justice doesn't negate with them. I'll give you an example with this Peter feller. Peter was under directive by a federal bureau to knowingly and willingly go on the stand and withheld information. And that's just preposterous. When we have these kind of cat and mouse games in our government and disloyalty to our president, that's grounds for treason. And you know what happens when we have treason? We have uprisings and civil unrest, like what's going on in Chicago right now.
So you said
right?
that Peter he did what exactly? Repeat that.
He was under directive from the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, to knowingly and willingly withhold certain information.
Oh, are you saying he did that during his congressional testimony?
I know he did that. Just look at his testimony.
Oh, yeah. That is true. That is true. And in fact, Goodlatte mentioned something to the effect that he has a responsibility to Congress. Congress is mentioned in the U.S. Constitution, but not the FBI. So he had a response. Congress is tasked with the job of investigating the executive branch. And the FBI comes under the executive branch. So yes, he withheld information from Congress, and he does not. He has no authority based upon the U.S. Constitution to do that. You're absolutely right. Yes, I agree with you. Oh, are you
definitely? And I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. I'm just leaving the back hills of San Diego. I'm on a cellular phone.
Oh,
it's a little choppy.
Okay, so Ryan, you say you're running for the 38th district. Tell me about it.
Well, I grew up in Whittier, California, and I began to get involved with politics from initiative standpoint. And that opened doors for me to travel around America over the last decade and really experience some of the things that not only us as citizens, but us as people are experiencing. And especially, it's been so evident concluding the Obama years, which were just absolutely destructive to America, and 8 years of a liberally controlled Congress that have absolutely crushed our nation and crushed our state. I wouldn't be surprised if there was another recession in a couple years that the liberals caused. They'll just say, hey, Trump did it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's for another time as well. But right now, I'm running for United States Representative. I have a decade in service to the people and dealing directly with the initiative process. I'm a Republican. I stand for my Pledge of Allegiance. I salute my flag, and I am a half African American and Latino gentleman.
Mm-hmm. And what district is the 38th district? Oh, don't say African American. We're black. Please, that bothers me. Say Black American.
Apologies.
Yeah, that just
Black
bothers.
American.
Yeah, we're Black American. We're not from Africa. Okay, so what district is the 38th district? What area is that?
The 38th district is comprised of the cities from the east of Los Angeles, starting in Montebello, all the way to La Mirada, which tips in on Orange County. A little slice of Orange County is in it, a small city called La Palma, and then it extends the south down the 605 freeway, Hawaiian Gardens, Cerritos, Bellflower, Artesia, Pico Rivera, all the way north towards the foothills to South Almonte.
And how many votes did you get in the primary, and who did you run against?
Well, I happen to be so proud to boast that I actually got more votes than Maxine Waters, which is the second most powerful liberal in the country. I got about 37% of the vote, which put me right outside of, I believe, what was it? Upwards of 39,000, I believe. Official counts weren't tallied yet, and there's been a lot of voter fraud, which is another thing.
And who did you run against? The Democrat was
Linda T. Sanchez.
Linda T. Sanchez?
Yes.
And you think how are your chances in November?
Well, I got to say that I would really appreciate more help from the establishment, our own, the GOP, the Grand Old Party, to get in and say, hey, this kid, I'm not a newcomer at this, Miss Wells. I've been experienced. I went out to San Bernardino, which was the largest district, and I ran against the mayor at the time, Pete Aguilar, who happens to be the Democrat currently representing the 31st district. How I got involved in that, let me just tell you real quick. I'm out there doing some field operations for the Republicans, and I look around at the community and I say, hey, this community that I seen before, the all-American city that it once was, is ridden with drugs and gangs, prostitution, and just all sorts of ungodly things. So I go to the voter registrar's office. I'm there collecting a box of voter reg cards, and a young man says, hey, we have a filling for a congressional position. I'm like, what? I never even thought I would do anything like that.
Oh,
and that was my first time.
Okay, your name is Ryan Downing?
Yes, you spell that like Dow, like the Dow Jones,
yeah,
and N-I-N-G.
Okay, leave your number with my call screener, Brooke, and maybe we'll have you on the show to get into some nitty-gritty. I have a lot of calls, and I want to get some more calls in. So, Ryan, please leave your number, and maybe we'll have you on as a guest, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to take a call from Miss Lane, who taught in the LAUSD. Oh, wonderful, Miss Lane. Thank you. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I want to hear from school teachers. Yes.
Hello, Miss Wells. I'm Kathleen Wells.
Yes.
What a breath of fresh air you are, on the radio or otherwise. Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
I've been listening to your entire show today. I've never heard you before because I don't like Dr. Drew. I don't like a lot of people on Jillian, her brother, TVF 30 years ago. But I don't like KBC that much. But I'm an avid radio listener. Anyway, let me get right.
We're not KABC. We're KRLA.
Oh, you're right. No, I do. My mistake. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm looking at my dial right now. I'm sorry.
That's
You're
okay.
right, and that's why I had to look up the phone number. And I do love your station very much. More and more, in fact. Let me get right to my point. What I want to talk about, and I'm right on board with you. Okay, first of all, my dad is Jewish. My mother was not. They were both teachers at Levi. In fact, we go back 4 generations. I'm the 4th. I early retired. That's one of the. I did. I had to early retire. Pervert principal in his 60s and 70s when I was in my 20s and early 30s. I didn't get $1 million, and I didn't go to a hotel room. It was in front of my elementary kids. Okay, that's another thing. What I want to talk about, though, is how about the Democrats? First, I love what you said. People are asleep. What's with the African American? I'm not a Russian or Scottish American. I'm an American. I like that very much. And, okay, abortion. Now, Democrats. Okay, you're right. Lincoln, of course, abolition of slavery. And what about Hispanics? How about Hispanics? Most of them Catholic, most, but abortion. But we're minorities. We have to be Democrat. Okay, they're asleep. And then how about the Jewish people, like my father? I said to him, Dad, because I am 56, I've been a Christian and a Republican since I'm a Christian since I'm 22, but Republican since I'm 18 when Reagan ran. Now, for sure, I could vote right here in L.A. Now, Michelle, you should be, that's Miss Lane. I was a teacher, that's my last name. I should be, a Democrat because you said you're never going to be rich. I said you should be a Republican. All you talk about is Auschwitz. I meant no disrespect.
Oh, Miss Lane, Miss Lane,
what do you think abortion is?
Miss Lane, I'm going to let you go because you're like all over the place. I'm sure my listeners their head is spinning. Sorry.
Okay.
But welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I appreciate you listening. So now I'm going to take a call from Raymond in Los Angeles. Hi, Raymond.
Hello. Good afternoon, Miss. How are you today?
I'm good. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Thank you. I'm a new listener for like about 3 weeks now, and I really enjoy your program.
Oh, thank you very much.
I was getting right back to the point. I'm a U.S. service member. I've been a Republican since I started at 18 years old. Okay, served my country. But point being, I don't vote right or left or any of these kind of. I just like to see the people when they talk about issues, concerns. Okay, so when I threw in my support for the president, Donald Trump, it was not because he was a good guy or anything, but I tossed it in because he was the issues. But for attacking issues, that's what I meant to say. So point being, all this whole hoopla and this whole thing, like this Russia probe and Peter Strzok and his girl and all this other stuff, my point is I think it's just people like yourself who are poignant on attacking issues and bringing out all the good stuff on your station and including yourself. They're just being caught up in a whirlwind where the Democrats are like grabbing the floor right now, right? But I told the call screener that we as the people who want to attack issues and like President Trump and I think most of the Congress and the Senate want to do is that we need to like get people in or start talking about people because of this election that's coming in 2018 and 2020 that's coming right around the corner, that we need to get people to talk about issues and get them to sign up to vote or prepare to sign up to vote for issue-based candidates.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see where your conversations and where more of this research as I continue to listen to your good program.
Okay.
When will you put in candidates like that?
Okay, Raymond, thank you very much. I am glad you appreciate the show. Yes, we talk about the issues on the Naked Truth Report. We dig deep. We know the data, right? Now we only have 6 more minutes. Hi, Carlos. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Yeah, good evening. Well, there's a book out there called The Red Army that alludes to the socialism aspect that you were talking about being pushed by Democrats. And the point it makes that the reason why the Democrats and both black and Latino are pushing illegal immigration is because they want to destroy the sovereignty of our country, but they're being sponsored by some big wigs like the Open Society. George Soros' Open Society. You see, that's why the money talks. They're being paid to push the destruction of the United States through massive influx of immigrants, both legal and illegal.
Right.
So that's where the action comes from, and that's why they're so superficial, as you were mentioned a while ago. They're so superficial and hypocritical. I mean, hypocritic. and it's very important to look at the organization's funding.
Oh yeah. Well, we know that
groups.
George Soros is supporting Black Lives Matter and Open Society. So this is all George Soros. But thank you, callers, for calling in. We only got 2 more minutes, and I just want to say to my Truth Warriors and Mythbusters, please support the the proenglish.org. Yeah. And also the South Los Angeles Inglewood Republican Assembly. Also, I want to say that go to my website, thenakedtruthreport.com, and, put in your information. I have some things coming up, and, I want to keep you guys informed. I have some really good things coming up. I don't want to talk about it yet because it hasn't been cemented and confirmed yet, but something good might be coming up. Also, and I want my Truth Warriors and Mythbusters to have the information. So go to my website, thenakedtruthreport.com, and put in your information so I can send you out stuff. What's coming up? Let's hope it happens. It's going to be fantastic if it does. I don't know for sure. And also go to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is thenakedtruthreport.com, right? Okay, so how long do we have, Jeff? Oh, we have 1 more minute. So we have 1 more minute. What do I want to talk about? I can't hear. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. What do I want to talk about for 1 more minute? Let me see. What do I want to talk about for 1 more minute? Like I talked about last week, that liberal ideology has failed Black America. It means Black misery. Anyone who is still voting Democrat at this point, they're not paying attention and they're walking through life. They're sleepwalking. They don't know the data. They don't know what's going on. And this is bothersome. And I know a lot of Black women out there are voting Democrat, and I want to talk to you Black women and figure out what's your problem. And I think it's the educated folks. I don't think it's like the people who aren't that educated, who are out in the street, so to speak. Anyway, there's my music, and we're going to we want to go higher, and we're going to take America back from liberal ideology. I'm Kathleen Wells. Thank you for listening. This is the Naked Truth Report. Thanks.